if you're buying pretty houses, you should always ask the following question. If I had your house appraised, what do you think it would appraise for? You will discover that probably 90% of the people with pretty houses for sale know what they're worth. They know because of one down the street. They know because they had it listed. They know because a realtor wanted to list it. They just know. And I'll tell you, the higher the price of the property, the more that is absolutely true. And so the first thing you want to do is find out what the seller thinks the house is worth. You go do your due diligence later, but when you're on the telephone, always ask. And or if you look at your website script there, what is your property worth? What would it appraise for is one of the questions. And there's your ARV till proven differently. There's your ARV. And so you just ask. Again, in the ugly house business, it's not really relevant because they don't really know. You're going to have to use one of these other methods. I suspect that all of you are going to wind up getting some kind of a database to pull your own comps if you're serious about the business. Let me show you a deal that... hey, John, would you get up to the microphone so you can describe this deal that you gave me the overheads on? John so graciously went out, took pictures. And this is just this couple days ago in a neighborhood where we already owned a house. What were you? You were checking on the house we own when you saw this junker. Is that right, John?
Yes, Donna saw it.
Oh, Donna saw it. Okay, so Donna wrote down the address.
Yes.
And then I want to know, what is the progression from the time you first saw it to getting what do we got, a contract on this or a deed?
We have the deed.
We have a deed. That's always better than a contract. Okay?
We have a house there that we're going to be lease optioning. We went to check on it. While we were driving away, Donna noticed this other house, and we turned around, got the number, went back home, looked up the owner's name, went into the phone book, found some names, wasn't his phone number, so I mailed the house, the handwritten note that we want to buy your house, call us.
The one I showed you yesterday.
Yes.
That long, extensive letter.
Yeah, keep it simple.
Okay, so you mailed them this.
Mailed him this.
And was this house vacant?
This house is vacant.
How'd you get the address?
We got the address off the house.
Okay, but how'd you know where the owner lived?
I mailed it to this house.
Oh, mailed it to the vacant house and it got forwarded.
No, he stopped by to pick up his mail. He just goes by there every month or so to check on stuff. And
so you would have thought the post office would have returned it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, if they would have returned it, we would have mailed it out to the forwarding address or turned it over to Cameron if we couldn't find anything on it.
Okay. If they would have returned it, you'd have turned it over to Cam, wouldn't you?
Right. It would have went to Cam.
And then we'd have hunt them down that way, then we'd have sent it to him. All right. The ARV on this house is $110,000. Write that down. 110. Don't look like it, does it?
Can you 1,700 square feet.
How many?
1,700 square feet.
Wow. Then I can tell you right now it's worth more than $110,000.
Has a pool.
But the pool's probably nasty, right?
I almost fell in it. I thought it was part of the lawn.
There's things growing in this pool. You guys getting the picture? Pool nasty, green, looks like the lawn, looks like it needs mowed.
Exactly.
And the house, look at the house now. It's obvious. Weeds growed up. You can see rotten wood. You can see all roof needs to be replaced just by looking at that picture. Is it going to be hard for you to spot these out in the field? No? Okay. That's exactly what he did now. He spotted it out in the field. All you got to do is start keeping your eyes open and send them a letter. Didn't know it's for sale. No sign in the front yard, right?
No, there's no sign.
No sign.
Donna
Okay.
spotted it, as I said, and we turned around and went and looked at it.
Okay, so you say the R is 110. I say it's more than that. I just know that because of my experience. 1,700 square foot house is worth more than $110,000 probably, after repaired now. Now John says it needs $15,000 worth of repairs. And by looking at that house, he's right on the money. Right on the money. He might be a little low. He said $15,000. Have you been in the house, John?
Yes, I've been in it, yeah.
Okay, describe what it needs. Needs a roof.
Yeah, it needs a roof. The skylights, guy put his own skylight in, that's leaking. Needs gutters, of course. The guy's willing to paint it on the inside for us.
He is.
Yes.
What a guy. So we ought
kitchen,
to just take...
was partially remodeled.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
So it's not as bad as it looks, huh?
No, the inside's not as bad as it looks. The bathroom is in decent shape, both bathrooms.
Actually, I got a picture of the inside here, don't I? Or do I?
No, I don't
No,
think
I don't.
so. It was too dark. I had to go through
Okay,
the
here's another
flashlight.
picture of the outside. Gosh, it looks like the other side. Oh, it is the other side. Do you see that it looks a lot worse than it is, guys? Who's this?
That's the owner or the seller.
Yeah, that's all I need to see. All right.
He's a pharmacist.
Huh?
Pharmacist.
He's a pharmacist?
Yeah.
You might ask yourself, how does a pharmacist let a property get in this kind of condition?
Yeah.
Don't try to answer yourself, because you'll never come up with the answer.
He has a beautiful 300,000 house that we went to on the creek with 7 acres, 3,000 square foot home that he lives in, just built. It's beautiful.
Yeah? All right. So $15,000 worth of repairs. I'm going to leave it at that. I'd say John's probably pretty close, pretty darn close by the time you start going through that stuff we're going to go through. Now here's the key. There's $52,000 owed on this property. There's a mortgage on it for $52,000. So what was our deal to buy it, John?
He's going to make the next 3 months payments, and that's up until September, the way I figured it. And then we're going to take over the payments after that at $652 a month until we sell it, and then we'll pay it off, so we don't have to lay any money out.
Okay, so how much money we got in this house, John?
$10.
$10. And we don't have a make a payment till when?
September.
Okay, so we're purchasing the property for how much, guys? $52,000. And how much of that's coming out of our pocket? $10. Now, sounds to me like that's a get the deed deal, isn't it? Yes, it is, but it's also a junker deal, isn't it? Yes, it is, isn't it? Look at there. We have to combine these two parts of the business, but does it qualify more as a get the deed, pretty house deal, or a junker ugly house deal? Qualifies more as a junker ugly house deal because it needs $15,000 in renovation. You got it? However, when we get to figuring out what the Mayo is, you'll see it qualifies there as well. So here we are, riding around, looking at our own house, spotting this one, tracking down the owner, getting it for free just because we asked, getting the owner to pay 3 months payments, and so all we got to do is figure out what we're going to do with it now. Could we wholesale this house and it'd be gone at lightning speed? Yes.
The next door neighbor came over when I was speaking with the seller and asked the seller if he wanted to sell the house to her, and he said, you have to talk to this gentleman. I just gave him the house.
Okay, and we're recording the deed, right?
We haven't yet. We just got it Sunday before we came here. We recorded.
So we're going to record Sunday, huh?
Yeah, we got this Sunday just before we left.
Okay, so we're going to record it when we get back.
Right, Tuesday.
And the title search is underway.
Title search, we got a confirmation back yesterday from the title company. It looks good.
Okay.
And they're still researching deeper, but so far it's good.
All right, good. It's a good example, guys. It's a normal deal. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
All right. You can't take a break until you take the test here.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
sir. That $15,000, did that include the pool repairs, or was
The what repairs?
the pool repairs?
Yeah.
It did include.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get to repairs. Don't worry. We'll explode all those myths. And yes, it includes pool repairs. Now, look up here on the board because it's time for you guys to think. You're going to take a test here. Write these down. Here's the deal. What I want you guys to do is to write down these numbers. All of these addresses are within 1 mile, so what have we fixed? Close in proximity. All of them have 1 or 2 car garages. They don't have any major amenities like a pool. All of these properties, because neither does our subject. All right? Our subject is 1,650 square feet. It's in good condition. It has a 2-car garage, and it has no major amenities. And now all we got to do is take a look at this list and figure out what the ARV is on our subject. And this is exactly, the only thing that's missing is you'll have addresses over there to the left when this list prints out. Square foot. Can you guys see it in the back? All right. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll read it to you in the back. How's that? Line 1, you got a 1,680 square feet. price is $129,900. That means price means it's what it's sold for. Okay, sales price. And that's, make a note, guys. That's sales price. That's not listing price. And it's sold in April. Second one, 1,720 square feet, sold in February for $132,000. Third one is 1,430, sold in May this month for $126,900. 1,683 square feet, sold in February for $114,900. 1,210, sold in March for $109,900. And 1,890 square feet, sold in December of last year for $122,000. Again, they're all in the same area, and they all have a 1 or 2 car garage, and none of them have a pool or any weird amenities.
Were they all in good condition?
Well, now, how would I know?
That's what I want to know.
Oh, good. Take a ride and look, because this is the list you'll get in real life. You don't get those answers in real life. You have to make your decisions based on the list. You have to make your decisions based on the list. What's the market value? What kind of ARV are you going to put on the property that you currently own? You don't get the good fortune of having somebody send you a dossier in every one of these houses. You don't get to see the house unless you want to go out and look at it. You don't get photographs of it. You get what you see right there, a list of sales. That's all you have to work with. So I'm not going to make it easy for you because this is real life. All right? Has everybody got those? Who does not have them down yet? Okay, if you don't have them down, get them from your neighbor. Everybody got them? All right. What I want you to do is while we're on break, you can come up with, there's only one answer you're going to come up with. The only thing you're trying to solve here for is what do I think the ARV is of my subject. That's all you're trying to solve for based on what you see. In fact, most of you should already know the answer within 10 seconds after looking at those. But I know you don't, so we're going to work on that. So before we go to break. Okay, did you guys figure out what your ARV is?
Yeah.
I haven't. Okay. Now listen, I forgot to tell you, there's a difference between your ARV now and what you think you might be selling this house for. You must first determine your ARV, and that's an ARV based on reality, not your fictitious price, because you may not be able to get your fictitious price. And so therefore you don't want to make any decisions based on a fictitious sales price. You've got to first determine the ARV. In other words, the ARV is what you think you could get an appraiser to appraise it for in excellent condition. Everybody with me? However, you also should know that that is based on a contract from a buyer for that price or more in the hands of a lender. So, in reality, what most people do is that they tend to get conservative on the ARV. The conservatism will be built into what we do after the fact. If you get conservative on your ARV, then you get conservative on your repairs, then you get conservative on everything all the way down the line, what happens to the deal? You conservatize yourself right out of a deal if you're not careful. I want the ARV to be the highest price you can justify based on recent activity in the neighborhood. Okay? Therefore, based on what you see in front of you, let's look. The 1680 is about the same size as the one we're selling. Do we have reason to believe that our ARV will be at least $129,900 or $130,000? We round the ARV off to $130,000. Anybody dispute that? Okay? The 1720 house is a little bit more in square footage and it's sold for $132,000. However, with 40 feet difference in square footage, does that really make any difference to justify? Is that going to justify a $2,000 higher price? Probably not. So, do we have reason to believe that we might squeeze a little bit more than $129,900 out of our 1,690 square foot house? Yes. Okay. Now look at the next one. It's 1,430 square feet, only sold for $126,900. How does that factor into our comps? It doesn't. It was a trick. But it's also real. Why doesn't it? Why would I want to use that one when I got two good comps right ahead of it? I'm going to eliminate that one. Third, 1,683, $114,900. Look at there. Same size. Why wouldn't I use that one? Because it's too low and I don't want to use it. If I got two that are high, why on earth would I use anything that's low? I don't want to use it. It's probably had some kind of distress or it wasn't in excellent condition. Then I got down here, 1210, 1099. What does that do to me? Absolutely nothing. Nothing. It's too low in square footage, and it is not a comp I want to use. But you thinker brains, you'll take the 1210 and build a case around it to determine your ARV. See, it doesn't matter. I got all these that sold for more, but you want to focus on the one that sold for less. And try to justify why it sold for less and go figure out why it sold for less. And then think about all the problems that can arise to give you justification for lowering your ARV. You know, like, what if I can't get to water? Conversation we just had. Okay? 1,890 square feet, sold for 122. It's bigger in square footage, but it's sold for less. All that tells me is there was a problem somewhere in the sale. Now, if I didn't have comp 1 and comp 2, and the rest of them were all I had, I would probably come to a different conclusion. I'd probably have to go do a little bit of work, and based on that, I would probably assume that my market value was much less. But based on what I'm seeing up there right now, what's the ARV? Okay, who says 131? Who says 132? Who says 130? Who says less than 130? Who says 135? 135.9. Wait a minute now. There's an ARV and there's a proposed sales price. Which are we after here? ARV. Okay. All right. So what's my ARV? 130 is correct, 131 is correct, 132 is correct, 133 is correct. They're all correct and they're all close enough. Got it?
Got it.
Got it. Now, what is my sales price if I have a 132 ARV? A minimum of 139.9. A minimum of 139.9.
How do you get that?
Swag. Testosterone. Experience in my case. Listen to me, guys. What's the definition of ARV? After repaired value. What's the house look like? Good condition. Nobody can find anything wrong with it. Looks nice, ready to sell, and therefore I have every right in the world to raise the price above what the highest comp is. I have every right in the world to ask it. Now I ask it. Let's say I put it on the market for $144.9, and a buyer comes along and says, "I love it. I'll pay $144.9." Now, you have just had the biggest influence in market value of anything that ever existed, and that's what a willing buyer is ready to pay. Now you write a contract, or actually later you write a contract for $144.9. The bank sends out an appraiser. The appraiser knows that it's sold for $144.9. The appraiser is going to bust his butt to make it come in at $144.9, so you don't have to hear the flack from everybody about how to appraise low and he's killing the deal. That's reality. And believe me, he's got all the flexibility he needs to go from 132 to 142 if he wants to in that price range. Because an appraisal is nothing more than opinion. That's all it is. Based on filling out a chart and sticking a number at the bottom. He has that much flexibility. Any appraiser has a 10% to 15% flexibility even on the lower priced houses. Boy, when you get up into the higher priced houses, you're going to see some big, huge, vast differences in appraised value. So, if the market is good, the area is good, if the house is good, you shoot for the moon. If there's any kind of a problem, you're probably going to lower it. Worst case, you put it out there for $144.9 and the market says, "I won't pay it, it's too much." What do? You lower your price. You lower the price, or you do like I do, you raise the price till it sells. You probably will lower the price. However, be careful. Don't go lowering the price until you verify that's the problem. Don't go lowering the price just because the house don't sell. Make sure that the house is not selling because the people who have looked at the house determined it's too high. And here's some good news. There ain't nobody going to tell you that on a $135,000, $40,000 house. They just aren't. Because it's not too high, because they haven't done the comps like you have. If they like the house, They'll buy it or they won't buy it. Rarely, ever, is it the asking price that stops them from buying it. So, I sell it. Oh, I don't know. Let's get conservative here. Let's just say I sell it for $139,900. And that is conservative to me. It's sold, it's over, it's closed. Where do you think I'm going to get the comp for my next sale in that neighborhood? In fact, that's the only comp I need for my next house in that neighborhood. So what's the next sales price going to be? At least $144,900. And then when that one closes, or am I going to get the comp? You're single-handedly responsible for driving up the values where you live. Don't listen to anybody who tells you the way to sell a house is to lower the price. It's crap. Don't listen to the realtors. If they knew what you know, they wouldn't make what they make.
Ron,
Gee, that was good.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
The other day I was talking to a fellow that I've been doing a lot of financing with, my banker, my lender, and he was saying that there's a new rule that FHA has just sent out about if the house has been in MLS in the last 6 months, it can't be flipped. They won't refinance it. Can you address that issue, please?
Yeah, it's a new rule. FHA created it. We ought to just all quit and go back and get a job and forget about all this crap. First of all, I don't care what FHA does. I haven't sold a house FHA in years. They can come up with all the rules they want. It won't affect my business one iota. The bank financing out there is so good right now, it's easier to get than FHA loans. In other words, screw FHA. And VA too while you're at it. I don't need either one of them. And my life isn't going to be hinged about what rules they make. And secondly, if what you're talking about is a holder rule that says I got to hold it for 6 months before I flip it. That's what you're talking about. I'm not going to get into that right now because that's a complicated explanation that you won't understand because it involves land trust, and it's only 3 months, according to our guest star up here today, who is none other than the legendary, infamous Robin Thompson. Microphone. I've said to Robin, Robin, you sitting back there, you might as well come sit up here. We might as well get all the free information we can out of you, pick your brain if you're going to sit around here all day. She said, you mean I got to work? I said, yes. So here she is. Robin, why don't you give them a little bit of history on what you do, and maybe that'll qualify you to be up here on the panel today, you think?
Okay. Started out 7.5 years ago now. Got into the ugly house business because I like making bucks out of yucks. Since that time, I've done 211 ugly houses. Do 40 to 50 properties per year. My claim to fame is one a week.
Rehabbing all of them.
I do full-blown rehabs, construction crew of 20-plus guys. We did a little over $2.1 million last year in renovations on the 40-some that I bought. I buy the ugliest of ugly, Ron. And the uglier it is, the more I like it.
The uglier it is, the more I like it.
Yeah, well, the reason is that's the bigger check. The uglier the house is, the bigger the profit margin. I like to do houses that's had fires. I like to do houses that are boarded, abandoned, frozen pipes, explosions, that kind of stuff. So if it's ugly, that's what I want.
Okay. Comment on this FHA rule, because there's nobody on top of that more than Robin, who is an absolute master at getting people qualified for loans that other people think can't get qualified for loans. And in fact, her whole business is built around that. So you'd know the FHA rules.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. I sell all my houses to first-time buyers. Most of them have little or no money down. At worst case scenario, it's 3% down. The new rule is with FHA, if you buy a house, you fix it up, and you sell it within 90 days, they want you to wait that long to own the property before you can sell it to a first-time buyer. From the 91-day to 180-day mark, what they're asking for is 2 appraisals by FHA. If you do what I teach and you do a quality job of renovation, that will not be an issue, assuming both appraisals should come in about the same. And as long as you have your permits and some copies of the receipts of what you paid your contractors, they will let the sale commence on the 91-day mark.
And if you're going to rehab properties, you don't need to worry about the 90 days, because you ain't getting in and out of them that fast anyway, so it's irrelevant.
Now, I've done it a couple times.
A couple times, okay.
But basically, at the 60-day mark, what you do is you start your buyer through the mortgage process. They can be approved waiting on the 91 days. So if they're fully approved and ready to close at day 75, you just wait till the 91st day, and that's the day you close. So,
Okay. What about wholesaling properties? How does that affect? How does the FHA 90-day holding rule affect us with holding wholesale property?
Well, it doesn't affect me because my wholesale buyers are cash.
Yeah.
So you know, nobody's getting an FHA mortgage on a junker that you're trying to wholesale.
I have a 90-minute holding rule. If we hold them longer than that, we have a problem. All right, let's move on here. Locating prospects, and I've asked Robin to just interrupt, and anytime she's got a great big pearl of wisdom, just throw it at us, because she's a teacher. She's a student turned teacher. She's got a whole big old following. Many of you in the room been to her boot camps, and but she's way beyond that because she actually does the stuff she teaches, if you can imagine that, as will anybody that you see on my platform. And so if you want, in fact, while she's here today, because she's only here today, if you got questions about rehabs, about getting people qualified, make sure you corner her and ask her, because that answer could be the difference between getting a good deal done and not getting a good deal done, because you listen to the morons try to scare you away because they let gossip control their lives, which is a subject that I better not get off on, because I'll be up here for hours talking about listening to the morons. Okay, locating prospects. We did that yesterday. Best way to locate prospects for ugly houses is what? The ant farm. Now, Robin is very heavily in. In fact, why don't you tell them where you get most of your deals from? She's a realtor, and she gets a lot of deals.
95% of the deals I get are from fellow realtors who feed me foreclosures long before any of my competitors know they're coming. Anytime a bank is in the middle of the foreclosure process, they usually ask for a broker's price opinion to be done. My realtor friends call up and say, hey, we're going to be getting the listing on this mess in about 30 days. Why don't you go out now and take a look at it? If you want it, we'll present early, and then nobody else will know. I look at 2 deals to buy 1 now. In the beginning, I used to have to look at 15, but now it's down to 2 for 1. And what I do is basically, this is what I can pay, and it's all cash. I give that to them. They present it to the bank says okay, and then they load the listing in the MLS for the rest of the people to find out it's already gone. So I have 5 realtors.
So you're one of those people investors hate, huh?
Well, you know, snooze you lose.
Okay.
But one of the things is with me, I basically sit and wait for my phone to ring. I have 5 different realtors who feed me constantly. They feed me deal after deal. A couple of the fellows I've bought 30 plus properties from them. So when they call me, they know it's cash. They know it's going to close quick. They know I'm not going to be a moron or a hemorrhoid to them, and that basically they don't want to deal with the other ones. And I've always honored my word. I have always closed when I said I'm going to close. I always have enough money to close for my private lenders, and I've never backed out on a deal. So I don't give them any reason to call any of my other competitors in town.
And I too have bought a lot of deals through realtors. I don't do it much lately because it's so easy to find FSBOs that, and I can get better deals with FSBOs, as will you, because realtors are in the middle, regardless of how much they care about the deal, especially on, most of yours are bank REOs, right? Yeah. They're still going to control the price. With FSBOs, there's nobody controlling the price. I get better deals with FSBOs. I do them both. I used to do mostly MLS listed properties, but in Jacksonville it got very, very competitive. The prices start going up more than I would be willing to pay. To this very day, we still buy some out of there from time to time, especially if we got realtors that are in the REO business, real estate owned business, sending us the junkers like she does. But the truth is, it doesn't make any difference where you get the prospects from. From the day you buy the property, from there on, it's all the same. If you implement the ant farm, you're going to have more prospects than you can handle. If you want to go to the realtors where you live, the script is right there in front of you on page 209. And here's the only reason that I don't teach more heavily on dealing with realtors is because experience tells me that they are stronger than you are, and they'll steal your dreams if you get a hold of the wrong realtors. And that's what concerns me. It's not that you can't get deals through them, because you can. It's that I'm afraid they're going to take you out behind the barn and shoot you and steal your dreams, because they can see by your conversations that you're new to this game, and they're afraid that you won't be able to fulfill your promises and keep your word. However, you don't have those problems with individuals out there who have junkers for sale. So for many of you, harvesting the MLS system is probably the very smart thing to do, especially if you is one. Okay, now I'll ask, how many licensees do we have in the room? Look at that, a bunch of you.
Oh, they're 10 miles ahead of everybody else.
Yeah, you are. You have the MLS system sitting right in front of you. You have a key to the vacant houses. You have all this beautiful information right there, and you have a whole army of realtors with a license who are your brethren that can be sending you deals as well. So take advantage of that. Now, the question always comes up, should I go get a license? Well, that's kind of a personal thing. Truthfully, I don't have any problem at all with you going and getting a license. I think you'll learn a lot. You will not learn how to make money, but you'll learn about real estate. You will get a good experience from going through the class. You get a license, you'll get in that clique, you'll get the keys, you'll get the MLS, you'll get all of that. What I'm afraid of is that you'll hang around those other realtors too long. As long as you don't start thinking like them and doing the things they do, getting a license is a good thing. But if you start getting into the mindset that most realtors are in, and that is nothing more than swapping hours for dollars and wasting their day doing worthless tasks that don't produce them any income, and pretty soon you start swaying over their way, and because, especially since you're hanging around them all the time. See, I only see you occasionally. That's why when I see you, I have to make the 2-by-4, make a big impression upside the head so it lasts for a while.
You know,
they get to get you every day.
You know, that's why they call them brokers.
Yeah, because they're brokering everybody else, huh? All right, so the realtor script right there, just follow that script, and I suggest you do. I suggest you follow the script, and also you can expect realtors to pre-screen you to determine whether they believe you got the money to close on these deals. And right there is where you get to determine who's going to control the conversation or not. If you look at the bottom of the page, I got it covered for you if you just do like I say down there. If you make sure they understand that you're in control, and you can do that with the way you handle yourself on the telephone. When they say, I'll need proof of income, I would say, hey, you get the deals. I'll close them quickly. You'll have all the proof of income you need. You prove to me you're going to go find me some deals. You get this thing accepted, I'll prove it to you real fast. I guess it's a self-confidence thing that some of you will be able to do, others of you won't. Follow the script if you won't. If you'll read down there at the bottom, it'll tell you how to handle yourself in that regard. Incidentally, if you run across a realtor that just won't deal with you and you can't bring into line, what do? You whack them. You whack them. Remember the ant farm where we're going to go out and find properties that are listed? If you guys call those realtors on the junkers that are listed and back into them that way, you'll get a handful of realtors that will continually send you junkers if you keep your promises and close. It's the downside of realtors. Minimum deposit's $500, and if you don't close, now you got a bad reputation and they won't deal with you anymore. That's the downside. Bigger deposit, and it's going to be harder to back out of the deal. Not hard, but harder to back out of the deal. And you'll lose that relationship. Did you want to? I know you had something on your mind there. I saw you pick up the microphone. All right. Any questions on any of that realtor stuff that we've covered? How many of you think you're going to be dealing through realtors? With junkers? At 10. Okay. See, we made a bit of impression on that one. All right.
Yeah, Ron, I wanted to ask you a little bit further about that proof of income. I've only done a few houses here, but they are saying absolutely the financial institution won't go along with me unless I give them a proof of payment, a proof of funds.
All right. Now let's analyze this very carefully so that it doesn't get out of hand.
Okay.
Number one, when is the only time anybody will ask you for proof of income? When you're making an offer through a realtor. Are we clear on this? Hello. When's the last time you think an owner of an ugly vacant house ever asked you for proof of income? Remember that guy with a toilet over his head and his belly sticking out? Think he's going to ask you for proof of income? Not a chance. So first, you're only going to be having this conversation if you're dealing with realtors, which I guess you can begin to see is why I hesitate to send you into the realtor market. So now, when you are dealing with realtors and they ask for proof of income, how can you furnish proof of income? First of all, you should know that much of the time, it's not the lender, the owner, that wants the proof, it's the realtor. And if you have the conversation that I just had, the proof of income will go away. However, there are some lenders, meaning banks that own properties, that want proof of income. So here's several ways you can do it. Number one, a letter from any mortgage broker that does private loans that say they got money lined up for you should suffice. B, any financial statement of any kind from anybody is proof of income. Doesn't have to be your financial statement. If your mother-in-law's got an IRA with $100,000 in it, do you have proof of income? Say, Mom-in-law, let me borrow your statement. I don't want any of your money. Just let me hold your statement for a little bit here. And you send it to the bank. If the bank can see the money anywhere in anybody's account, it's proof of income. You say they're going to loan me the money. If you obviously have money in your own account, that's the easiest proof of income. And now listen, you're not guaranteeing them you're going to spend that money on this house. You're just showing them you got proof of income, or proof of funds, what it amounts to. If you don't know a mortgage broker, you can find one of them and cut you a letter. There's all kinds of ways you can. What am I missing? Because I know I'm missing something. I can't think of it.
Well, just to touch on the private lenders, I borrowed $8.5 million in the first 4 years of this business from private lenders. It's very simple. You just tell them, look, I need a proof of funds letter. Can you give it to me? I'm ready to bid, and they will.
In fact, just tell them to give you one and keep on using it. Yes.
Yes, on the REOs that you're talking about on the bank.
Yep.
Does it change from the situation that we've been talking about for no money down? If you're dealing through the realtors, do you have to come up with let's say 500?
Let me give you a tip. No money down should never leave your lips after you get out of this room.
I understand that.
No matter who you deal with. Because that is a nasty, nasty phrase in the marketplace. In reality, everything we do is no money down.
Right.
It's not our money. When I'm in Junkers today, the sellers are going to get all cash, but it's still no money down to us because it won't be our money.
But I'm talking about where she's talking about going through the realtors, like if you're going.
I know what you're talking about, and I'm getting there.
Okay.
All right. Your question was on deposits.
Mm-hmm.
You will always have to put up a deposit when you're making an offer through a realtor, when it gets accepted anyway, and the minimum is going to be $500, and they're going to want more.
Are you going to have
the higher the price, the higher the deposit they're going to want. That is your risk. You are at risk with that deposit. Another reason I hesitate to send you into the arms of the realtors. Because they will ask these big numbers, and you'll probably fall for it. Before you know it, you got $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 sitting out there on an earnest money deposit, not quite sure of what you're doing.
One other question: as far as signing,
signing, yes.
Should you or should you not, or will you have a problem is signing responsibility for the home versus using it, like your corporation? As far as being signing personally responsible.
Responsible for what?
Like if you're buying the house, signing in your name versus your corporation.
You mean the contract?
Yes.
Right.
If you're doing it through the realtors, will they still
I use a corporate name, and I sign as the president.
Okay, so
There's never any personal liability on a purchase and sale agreement.
Even though you're going through the other part. Okay.
But remember, the only remedy for default is going to be that deposit anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not an issue. If you don't buy, they keep your money. That's it.
Okay.
They cannot make you buy a house. Some realtors in some areas still have a specific performance clause in the contract. Truthfully, I don't even worry about writing it out because it don't matter. They cannot, nor will they, try to make you buy a property. They'll keep you a deposit and they'll move on. That's all they can do.
Okay.
Most contracts, it's already been eliminated. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Ron, I'd appreciate if you'd go back over this about when they ask you for a proof of income without using your own income statement. I get that.
All right. I'll go back over it quickly, but I will say again, it's not an issue if you're not buying bank REOs. Are you guys going to have more than you can possibly do in the world of junkers? And we haven't even got to the pretty houses yet. If you never buy another REO as long as you live. Say yes, Ron.
Yes.
Then let's not worry about that. Let's stay out of that business for right now. And we won't even have to think about it. But if you insist on doing it, and if you're a man, you probably will. If you insist on doing it, there are several ways to prove funds that are so simple it's pathetic. If you have any kind of a statement from anybody you know with money in a bank or liquid assets, it could be a mutual fund statement, it could be a stock statement, it could be an IRA statement, it could be anything with money in a bank, you can use that letter to send them and say, this is my brother-in-law, he will loan me the money. Or if you have any bank account statement of your own, including your own IRA statement, and you guys will have a boatload of liquid assets in your IRA soon. I'm not going to leave you alone until you do. You use that. Or your wife's IRA statement. If you have any kind of a letter from a mortgage broker, of which all you got to do is call them and say, give me proof of funds letter. And of course, you're going to bring them the loan, the private loan. You can use that. They will just say, I will fund this property as soon as we get the appraisal done and the title done. Yada, yada, yada. It means nothing. They're not guaranteeing they're going to do anything. If you have a letter from a private lender and you don't have the funds yet, you got the money lined up from a private lender, as you should. You just get the private lender. Say, I'm ready to loan Ron LeGrand the funds to buy the property as soon as we get title work done and the appraisal. That's all they need. They just need to see you're real. And however, this proof of funds thing, like everything else, has got blown way out of proportion. It becomes the talk of the town. It's absolutely the food for the internet chat rooms. And what it really is a reason not to do the business. Mm-hmm. What it really is an excuse not to take action. That's what it really is. It's crap. And it has nothing to do with what we do. So get over it and don't worry about it. Again, don't buy REOs and it's not even an issue. Can we move on? Should we move on?
Yes.
All right. Boy, it's a good thing I didn't point any grouch monitors in this boot camp. All right. We got to get to pre-screening your prospects. And obviously that involves estimating repairs, doesn't it? Now, Robin and I are probably going to disagree a little bit here. Maybe more than a little bit. I don't know. But just remember this. You should always respect your elders.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Let's get into this repair thing, and let me see if I can't get through that myth as fast as possible, too. And I'm telling you, if you go out to look at a house to estimate the repairs, I want you to leave your calculator at home. You don't need it. And you won't need a pencil either. Now, you thinker brains, you're going to need a big calculator and a big pen and a computer. Now, you thinker brains, you can probably go down and find a software program that the contractors use to prepare estimates on houses if you wish to do that. Mm-hmm. But when you're through, 6 hours later, you're going to come up with the same answer I'm going to help you come up with in 5 minutes. Is that okay? Mm-hmm. But you're going to go do it anyway. I know you are. In fact, I should have that software. I could sell it all to the thinker brains.
Called Ready Software.
Yeah? Okay. You don't need software to determine the repairs on a single-family house, class. You just don't. So let me see if I can't figure out how to do it a lot quicker. Let's go down this list on page 214. And after we get through with it, it's kind of irrelevant. And whether you agree with this list or whether you don't agree with it, I don't care. And I don't care if you think it costs more than what's on here, because it don't matter either. And the truth is, I can take any number on this page, and I can open the yellow pages and call one of them big ads in there and get somebody to come out and charge me triple what's in here. And in fact, that's exactly what will happen if you use the wrong contractors. In fact, I'm not doing contractors in this boot camp, because this is not about rehabbing house. I'm going to let Robin handle that one for you. In fact, you're going to talk about that this afternoon, aren't you? Contractors? Mm-hmm. You guys want a contractor class this afternoon? Either they get you or you get them. You know, one of you's got to go. So I'm going to let her tell you how to put them on a leash. And they need to be put on a leash. And I'm telling you, that's not going to go away. You just got to get good at handling them. You're still not going to prevent them from having the habits they have, the way to run their business. My house that I'm living in right now is a constant parade of contractors. And fortunately, I'm there when I'm not out on the road. I can handle them, and I handle them, and they still whoop me from time to time. And you know, I'm the guru. However, I make the rules by God. I can break them whenever I want to. So, page 214. Let's just go through some basics. The way you determine the repair estimate on a house is by looking at the major components. The major components are listed. You do not get hung up on how much it costs to paint a wall or put in a wall plug, or how much it costs to put a paper border around a bathroom, or any of that kind of junk. That's all called miscellaneous. Miscellaneous is on your next page. Miscellaneous is one number. Period. Before it's over, you don't even need to worry about that. You go down this list and just look at these numbers, and I'm going to let Robin comment on them, and I am certainly going to accept her comments because she rehabs more houses than I do. However, she's also in a different area than I am. And that's another one. Let's see. I live in San Francisco. I can't get repairs done over there for that price. Well, if you don't think you can, go to Home Depot in San Francisco, and I promise you the prices are the same as they are at Home Depot anyplace else. Materials are materials are materials are materials, and the prices are the same, guys. They don't mark them up just because the real estate values are higher in San Francisco. Materials are materials are materials are materials. And I want all of you to go to Home Depot once and go out and price some of these things in here and see if you can't come to the same conclusion. However, there's an art even in that. For example, kitchen cabinets. If you want to make a note, you're looking for Mills Pride. If you're buying them from Home Depot, kitchen cabinets. Mills Pride. They'll have them in the back of the store because they are not the ones they want you to see first. You will easily be able to buy Mills Pride cabinets and you'll be able to buy kitchens in Home Depot that'll cost 3 times what Mills Pride cabinets cost. However, they don't look any better. You can buy cabinets that are made out of some fine wood. They won't sell your house any quicker. What you're trying to do is get your house looking as good as possible, spending the dollars in the right place. You don't need an imported mahogany from Honduras. You indulge in that kind of crap on the one you live in, not on the ones you're renovating. Mills Pride cabinets come finished. They look very nice. You can get them in white. You can get them in wood. I use white. Find out what Robin uses. I use gloss white Mills Pride cabinets, and I prefer they're already assembled when you get them. And I'm telling you, well, look at your model down here at the bottom of page 214. What's the model? It's a 1,200 square foot single story house. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
Robin don't have that luxury. All of her stuff up there is 2-story, so her numbers are bigger, and that's probably why we differ. Anytime you got 2 stories, it's going to cost more to fix it than 1 story. Duh.
Because my houses are old.
They're really
built in
old.
1895 to 1920 on average.
Yeah, I hate your product. I hate
I have
those
no
old.
new construction.
Most of you don't have to worry about that. Most of you live in areas where they have houses that are actually built in the last century. But she just lives in one of those northern pockets where they're all the product is old. If I have my choices, I'm going to get out of that area and get into one. She doesn't have a choice. In fact, she's just telling me the highest priced house in your city is what?
$140,000 for a 3,300 square foot colonial built in 1920.
Hey.
Waterbury, Connecticut is where I rehab in Meriden too.
And maybe you ought to go visit Waterbury sometime. Once, anyway.
No, there's people in here who've been to Waterbury, and
Yeah, I
my
know,
students are in the room. They're all smiling. Look, look at them waving in the back.
Because you have your boot camp there, I know.
So.
You make them truck their butts to you.
That's all right.
All right.
They like coming to the ugly city.
All right. Anyway.
I need to interject, though, with the kitchens. Ladies, what are the 2 most important rooms in the house that made you buy the one you bought? I spend a little bit more than he does in those 2 rooms.
I doubt that. In fact, when we get to selling houses on the 4th day, I'll show you staging and all that. I doubt you do. I'm just making a point here that you guys don't need to go spend a lot of money on things like cabinets that are not going to enhance the value of the property. It's looks that count. Don't ever forget that. It's what they see. What they don't see does not require any more than you have to spend. There's a couple exceptions to that, like a toilet. The last thing you guys want to do is go down there and buy one of them $49 toilets from Home Depot.
Leaks.
The one with all the plastic guts in it. See, that's the last thing you want because you'll soon have a flood. So if you buy the toilet, make sure you got flood insurance. So you buy the $69 toilet with the metal guts that don't break real easy. Anyway, let me go down the list. Back to kitchens for a moment. In this model now, you're only going to usually use 1 line of cabinets. If you can just picture it, you're going to use 5 or 6 feet of cabinets, uppers and lowers, and that's what I'm looking at here. So get out of the home where many of you live, where you've got cabinets all around you. That's not this model, and that's not the model you're generally going to renovate. I will tell you, and I don't need to argue with you, I'm not going to. I've renovated hundreds of houses. I've been at Home Depots all over the country because we used to take people out in the field and waste a day. I'm telling you that you can gut this kitchen and replace it with nice uppers and nice lowers for $1,000, labor included. And $679 of that is cabinets, countertops, sinks, faucet, P-trap, and supply lines. The rest of it is labor. And if you don't believe it, go home and price out a 6-foot kitchen at your Home Depot in Mills Pride cabinets, uppers and lowers. Make sure they had a countertop, double sink, and by the way, nowadays I like to use the double ceramic imitation. They got a fiberglass ceramic imitation, white. The stainless steel days are gone. It's now white and looks very nice. And you'll wind up with around $1,000 materials and labor. And if you don't believe that, ask Home Depot to price out what it would cost for them to send a contractor out there to install this kitchen. You'll be at $1,200 total max. Now, you're only going to believe this when you go home and do it for yourself. So, if you go down this list, you'll get a general idea of what things cost. And if, Robin, you disagree, just tell us and let me know. I want to know what you don't agree with here.
If I spend $200 a foot, so I'm right where you are there.
On what?
Cabinets, and that includes a countertop sink and the plumbing and everything.
$200 a running foot.
Yep. The only difference
right.
I have with you is I don't like using Mills Pride because the guys have to assemble them. Cabinets we buy come from a cabinet outlet already put together. They're delivered in great big boxes.
Good
it
point.
Shortens the rehab time. They're a higher quality cabinet for the same price as Mills Pride.
Good point.
They're called Chadwood Oak, and you can get them at any cabinet outlet. You just look in the yellow pages under Cabinet Factory Outlet in your phone book, and you'll find the dealers in your town.
That is a good point. You can have cabinet makers come to your house where you live and probably make them.
Chadwood Oak is what I use.
What's it called?
Chadwood Oak. Cabinet Factory Outlet in the yellow pages. Just look up yellow pages in your phone book.
Connecticut.
No, almost all the major cities have a Cabinet Factory Outlet in your city. You just go there and shop the showroom.
By the way, when we get through here, guys, it don't matter because you're not going to be going to any cabinet shop.
No. I did it once. The contractors buy them from there.
Yeah. All right. Electric. Replacing the panel boxes has really went up in the last few years. I used to be able to do it for $400 or $500. Where I live, it costs about $1,200 to replace a panel box. The electric panel box with all new circuit breakers and all of that. And I'm sure you have to do that on about every house you renovate, don't you?
Yeah, most of mine are triplexes and duplexes, so I usually have 2 to 3 electrical services in the house.
Okay.
But that's what we're paying in Connecticut, too.
Okay. Kitchen we covered. Bathrooms. Guys, there ain't a bathroom out there you can't gut and replace for $1,000. Now, unless you want to put a bidet in it and get hand-painted porcelain fixtures from China or something like that. And when you think of what's in a bathroom, there's a toilet. It's $100, toilet and seal.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do you install a toilet? There's 2 bolts. Unscrew, set, screw. It's hard to install a toilet. It's a major job. It requires a master plumber or somebody with a wrench, one of the two. There's a bathtub. Half the time you won't be replacing them. You can refinish them for about $250 and they look better than new. You don't even need to worry about this. Robin will tell you. You've got one contractor. He handles all this crap.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing you guys are going to do is be calling all the people to put this puzzle together. God, I can never get you out of that. If you're going to rehab houses, you better listen to this woman when she tells you. You call one person, and that one person handles all the rest. Possibly 2 or 3 max. Now, what else is in a bathroom? There's a sink and there's a cabinet. If you'll go into Home Depot, you'll find it on the end of one of the aisles. You can buy that sink and that cabinet for $69 in a box. And all that's left is a faucet and a P-trap. So we got a $100 toilet and we got a $100 cabinet and we got, if you're placing a bathtub, it's $350. Add all that up and put all the little fancy stuff in there, and you have to work hard to spend more than $1,000 on a bathroom. Now remember, that does not include the floor or the walls or the windows. That's just the bathroom. And that's a fancy bathroom. Agree or disagree?
Disagree.
Okay. Well,
everyone, that's okay. I'm female, he's male. Every single one of my houses,
in case you haven't noticed.
Oh, there's big thought process. Never mind. I just skip that. Anyway, my process is in the bathroom. I always put a jacuzzi whirlpool tub in every single house.
Oh, you do? Okay.
That's what sells it. Your basic jacuzzi tub is $3.99. It leaks. The $5.99 is the one you want. With the jacuzzi tub, they do not have the 3-sided surround around the tub, so we do ceramic tile on 3 sides behind the bathtub, which runs a little bit more. So I end up spending about $700 or $800 more than Ron does, but I know the Whirlpool tub is what's going to sell my house.
And
it cuts my holding cost down by 3 months or so on average, and that's what I'm going to do.
And I would not disagree with you one bit on that.
And the other thing is I put a really nice-looking medicine cabinet up, usually the $150 medicine cabinet that matches the vanity.
And so do I. And lights, nice lights, nice trim, and again, the Whirlpool tub. I would not pull out a good tub to put a Whirlpool in, but if I had to pull out, I agree with you. That's what ought to go in it. You're at what, $1,500, $1,600
No, I'm
bucks?
at 2 Gs.
2 Gs? Okay.
I do a real nice gold faucet. I spend a little bit extra money. I put the towel bar, soap dish holder, and all that stuff up too to match.
Okay. So we don't really have disagreement on that.
Absolutely right.
No, we don't. Let me tell you this. You're better off spending more than less. Get them so nice the buyer can't resist them, and that's exactly what that Whirlpool tub does.
Well, what
and
I've learned,
she is right there.
What I've learned as a realtor when I sold houses right after I quit my job for extra income is the woman is 65 to 70% of the buying decision. The kitchen and the bath are the 2 rooms that she wants. If none of the rest of the houses in the price range have it, what I found is I can charge $12,000 to $14,000 more for my house than any other house on the street because the kitchen and the bath are done correctly.
There you go, the voice of
The
experience.
house payment on $12,000 is only $100 more a month. I know if it's the house she really wants, the husband's going to agree to the extra $80 or $100 per month, no sweat.
He don't have any
and what's
choice,
going to
does
sell it to her is the kitchen and the bath.
The husband's just an ornament sitting around taking up space anyway. So, she's right. Renovate them for the wife, and the husband will follow right along. Carpet, we're not going to get a dispute on that one, are we? Huh?
I just spend a little more.
Okay.
$1.25 a foot. Most
Why?
important thing there is
Why
the
do you?
6-pound pad. I know if they walk in the door and they get that cushy sinking feeling,
Yeah?
they're in.
Yeah, but that's 9/16" pad, and I use that anyway in this number.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is most of my buyers come from referrals. So I've had people who've owned homes of mine for 3 or 4 years, still dragging their family members and the people they work with in. That's because everything still lasts. You know, to spend a little bit extra money on a little better quality carpet, it'll still be good 3-4 years down the road. So that's one of the reasons I do. I want my buyers happy for life. And at that return, I have one family we've sold 5 houses to in the family. So, you know, they're a $150,000 family. So I just spend a little bit more to raise the level of the quality up above what the builders are putting in. And again, it just sets my house apart from anything else. And I can charge a lot more than anybody else is getting.
Okay, well, I don't have any problem at all finding good, decent carpet with 9/16" pad, getting it installed for $1 a square foot, and actually don't have trouble getting it less than that, and neither will you. But I tell you what, if it cost you $1.25 a square foot instead of $1, you probably shouldn't buy the house because you're paying too much for the carpet. Either that, or it makes absolutely no difference whatsoever whether you spend $1 or $1.25.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
get over it.
next.
Yeah, sorry.
Now, roof. Your 2-story houses are going to cost more than my 1-stories, no doubt about it. But I'm telling you right now, on this 1,200 square foot house, if you can't get a roof put on it for $2,500 to $3,000, you better quit calling them guys with the big square ads in there, because that is more than enough money. And believe me, I can get a roof considerably cheaper than $3,000 on this house.
How much for a 2-story house?
Well, a 2-story house is only going to cost a little bit more because they got on the 2nd story. There's still the same amount of roof there.
Yeah, it's usually $1,000 per floor to go up.
And actually,
What I
there's
find.
less roof if that 2-story house is 2 600 square foot floors. How much did you say?
I usually end up spending $1,000 for them to go up 2 stories up.
Yeah.
It's usually $1,000 to go up real high.
Okay.
It's for the insurance, that's why.
AC and heat. Now remember, what's my model home look like? 1,200 1-story. Believe me, I can put central heat and air conditioning system in that thing for $2,500 all day long and have money left over. And so can you if you don't call the big ads in the newspaper. You got to call the guys who don't have all that overhead. Usually they're guys who work for a larger company, or they have their own company and they just 1 or 2 man operations. Do you put central air in Waterbury, Connecticut?
No, it doesn't get
Okay.
warm enough.
What do you spend on a central heating system?
Typically what we're doing is hot water baseboard. If the house has freeze damage and the original heating system is all blown apart, we'd spend about $4,500.
On what size house?
1,200 square foot.
2 floors.
2 floors,
Two
right.
floors.
That's because they've got to go up through the closets.
2
to get-
floors, different animal.
A single
Okay.
family ranch, 1,200 square foot, would be looking right around 3,500, 3,700.
Then I would suggest you're spending too much, but I don't want to argue with you about that right now. All right. Paint. My 1,200 square foot model now, paint. And I'm talking interior and exterior. If you got to pay more than $2,000 to get that house painted, I want you to ask yourself, how much paint are we talking about here to paint the inside of a 1,200 square foot house? How many gallons? Who knows? Anybody guess? 10 gallons. On the exterior. Anybody guess? 15 gallons. Because it's 2-color. So is the inside 2-color. So you might have 11 gallons inside, and you might have 16 gallons outside, or whatever. How much does paint cost per gallon, guys? $8. No, not $8. You better not buy that paint. You buy that paint, you're going to need quite a few coats. It could be closer to $20 a gallon. You get good quality paint, as you should. Incidentally, where are you going to get this paint?
You're not.
That's correct. That was a trick question. The last thing I ever see anybody in this room is trucking paint around in their pick-em-up truck. You don't go get paint. It's not your problem. If you spend $18, $20 a gallon, or if your contractor does, $20 times 25 gallons is how much? $500. Where's the rest of the money going? Labor. And I promise you, it don't cost that much to paint a house. Now, this is a 1-story. Is it going to cost more to paint a 2-story? Is it going to cost more to paint a bigger house? Are we going to have to adjust all these numbers as our house goes up? Yes, we are. Okay. Now your story.
No, I'm good there.
You're good there.
Most of my houses aren't that little.
Okay. Huh?
Most of my houses are not that small. So
Right.
I wish they were 1,200 square feet. I could do
All right.
100 of them a year.
Vinyl for what? Vinyl. You're talking about siding. Well, that's a different animal now. And yes, you will side houses from time to time. You got a formula for siding?
I just look at the size of the house.
Yeah, me too. How big a house you thinking? $2,500. $2,500 will get you a new house on the exterior. And believe me, you side a house, you've just created a new house. Totally changes the appearance of the house. And you guys are going to run across quite a few houses that you ought to consider siding, especially if they got the old lapboard siding on it or the old asbestos shingle siding or whatever. You probably won't side a house less than 30, 35 years old. Older than that, do you side a lot?
If the outside is really, really peeling bad, like 4 coats of peeling paint, we have to. It's cheaper.
Or cracking.
Yeah, it's cheaper to just side it than to actually scrape that all down and sand it. So.
And it'll look a lot better.
Yeah, we do about 3 out of 10.
Yeah.
Ron?
On my model, $2,500 will side this model with ease. And in fact, $3,500 will side a 2-story. I know, because I had one done not very long ago. We'll side a 2-story, and that includes the eaves. Who said Ron?
Ron, I have a question for Robin.
Okay.
Robin, you were talking before about replacing some heating, baseboard heating you have. I live in the Northeast and have some apartments in the Northeast. Just wanted to find out, when the price you quoted for replacing a heating system, does that include copper pipes for the baseboard, or using like a PEX?
Yes.
Oh, for crying out loud.
Yes, it is, and that's also a licensed contractor doing the heat loss calculations to make sure everything complies
And
with
so
the
they're
city.
replacing all the copper on that system.
All right. Plumbing. That's a scary one. Guys, what is plumbing? It's toilet, bathtub, sink, that's bathroom, kitchen, sink, hot water heater, maybe dishwasher, plumbing over. Only thing left is the pipes that connect these things together. That's all plumbing is. If I got a sink in my kitchen and I got a toilet and and all that in the bathroom, the only thing that I could need is a hot water heater or pipes. And now, where she lives, you go down in the basement and you reach up and there's your pipes. I mean, they're easy to fix. Where I live, I'm on a lot of slabs. Okay, I'm on the slab. The pipe's running under the concrete. Oh no. It's leaking. Now what? They got to come in with a jackhammer and jack up my house? No. They just run outside and run around. They don't go through the middle of your house and tear up your house. It's cheap. And if you ever price PVC, in my house where I'm living right now, we figured it out. We've got 2 miles of PVC we've put under the ground in the house. And PVC is cheap. Cheap. This stuff is cheap. And labor to replace this stuff is cheap. It don't cost near what you're led to believe because you call them ads in the yellow pages and they come out and give you these ridiculous estimates. By the way, if I were a plumber, you couldn't afford me. If I were a plumber, you couldn't afford me. Did you ever hear the joke about the guy who had the plumber come out to his house and gave him this great big old bill? And the guy said, man, I'm a doctor and I don't make that much. And the plumber said, yeah, I used to be one of those too. All right. Now, down at the bottom, you got some problems like basements. I can't tell you what that costs because I don't know what's wrong. I will tell you this. Basements are made out of concrete blocks. And last time I looked, they're about $1.50 each. And between the concrete blocks are mortar. And on both sides of that concrete block wall, there's air on one side, dirt on the other. There's nothing there that costs a lot of money. And if you start looking at this and dissecting these big jobs that you're afraid of, you'll see there isn't anything to it. And the people who do this stuff regularly every day know how to do it quick and a lot easier than it pictures in your brain. Jacking up a house, for example. You got a lot of sinking, jacking.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You ever seen somebody jack up a house? You ought to see it sometime. I'm going to tell you, I've seen houses that got jacked up easier than changing a tire on your car. Mm-hmm. Look, they put these screw jacks under there, and they just crank them till the house is level. And usually they just leave the jacks there till it's level. It's hard. It's hard. Put jack, screw jack, level house, collect check. That's all it takes.
Ron, that's one of the greatest profit centers for me. Is
Amen.
Nobody wants to deal with something that's got like a bad foundation wall, and the banks are freaking out. Those make huge profit checks and easy to buy because nobody else wants them. But it's not that hard to fix.
I love foundation problems. I don't care what it is. In fact, Ray Rock, I wish he was here. He bought a house where the wood was sitting on the ground one time. And he hired a mobile home contractor to raise the whole house, put it on blocks. Cost him $800. Raise the whole house, put it on blocks. $800. I mean, that's what they do with mobile homes. They raise them and they put them on blocks. I mean, it's no big deal, guys. Repairs don't cost a fraction of what you think they do if you get a handle on them and you don't let them scare you anymore. And the more you deal with rehabs, one reason I would like for you to do some rehabs. I want you to get in that arena and get yourself convinced that it don't cost near what you have been trained that it costs, or that everybody tells you that it costs. In fact, the rehabbers are laughing at all those who don't have a clue, all the way to the bank. Now, most realtors don't have an iota clue of what it really costs to rehab a property.
No, and that's a golden opportunity because they think it costs a whole lot more than it does. And they're telling the bank it's going to cost a whole lot more than it does.
And we want them to tell them that. Absolutely. Garage doors, double, $700, $750 installed. Pools, I heard somebody worried about that pool behind that house that John got. Look, there's only a couple things you can do with a pool. A, you can fill it in and plant flowers. B, you can fix it. And usually you fix them. Now, one thing you can't fix is a pool that's come up out of the ground. Down where I live, you better have a vent down there in the bottom of the pool because the water tables are so high. If you drain the water out of the pool, pool's coming up. Unless there's a pop-off valve that lets the water come from the ground through the pool and not push it up. Once a pool pops up, it's over. You might as well call in the bulldozer. You can't replant it. Call in the bulldozer, fill it in, cover it with dirt, plant grass. That's what you do with those pools. However, if the pool hasn't popped up and it's just nasty and dirty, look, guys, anything that gets nasty can be cleaned. Anything that gets nasty can be cleaned. You just pump the pool out. Worst case, paint it and or put a vinyl liner in it. All of this is just labor and a little bit of materials. And then you replace the pump and the filter. Pump and filter on a pool combined, $500. It's no big deal. Here's what a pool is. It's a concrete hole with pump running water through it. That's all it is.